All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Friday afternoon, September 17th. Once again, happy birthday, Fausto. You never know if he's listening this afternoon. But great to see all of us. Otherwise, though, you got Leda, Chuck, Patrick, Zacharias, one of our trial members here joining us today, alongside many others for the first time today, or first time across the next few days here this week. Great to see all of us, though, otherwise. And if you're joining us on Facebook Live or YouTube once again today, welcome on back. Without further ado, the ATER trade, hot soup coming through, looks like, on this trade. Stock's really pushing up nicely here heading into the afternoon is what I'm referring to here. Sharply pushing up towards, we'll close up to the next major resistance off of 1190. From there, 12, a couple of orders I see on the ask. So let's see what happens here coming up. Wow, it's moving so fast. It's actually, my matrix has to catch up here a little bit. There we go. 20,000 shares on the offer right now, 20,000 at 12. And then aside from that, really what I'd be interested in seeing, should this break over 12, and I mean that a bit later on. I think it's going to false break this at first, but a bit later on today, if it can re-clear 12 resistance coming up once again a bit later on this afternoon, then let's see what happens here back on September 10th. High of the day off of 1325. I wouldn't expect for it to move all the way up that much. In fact, if anything, closing bell print roughly off 1180 there. So perhaps right around 1180, in between 1180 and 12, you're going to find a resistance, hence perhaps a pullback down here coming up. Didn't even kiss 12. So that actually shows that there's no buying interest at 12 at all coming up, or just yet. So, for right now, great call from Chuck, who had made mention of this stock right before we started this meeting. We'll put this stock back on our watch list at this point. When I say back on our watch list, it wasn't on the morning watch list, mind you, but of course, it's a stock that we've been, really trading more on than off, really, across the last week and a half, 2-3 weeks, really. So, great call from Chuck. And yeah, for right now, we'll put this on our list. Now, without further ado, otherwise, though, what we'll do is just go right from the top across the gainers and losers list. I'm kind of lazy today. I really didn't log out, log back in. I didn't get my gainers list officially back up. These are just the scans from TradeStation, actually, but gainers and losers in that regard. So what we'll do is just go right from top to bottom. We'll review any of the other stocks that we ended up trading. In fact, I wanted to start off by going over this stock, CRVS. We'll get to that in a second, actually. Number one, though, I'd be remiss to begin otherwise by talking about the HLBZ trade. Ended up making a huge squeeze up as soon as the market opened up. It's for the most part what I had made mention of in pre-market, saying, hey, this can make a really good opportunity. If it ends up dumping off or making a false breakout, right place, wrong time, it can create a huge disaster, and usually twice as fast. So thankfully, it ended up making a really nice move up a bit later on after the market opened up right around 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Ended up breaking out from 19 and made an under and over from that price afterwards, and really popped from that point. So from 19, roughly, that breakout area, it ended up topping off around 25. So nice run. Right now in this trade, though, given how thin the liquidity is, and otherwise just it's still making lower highs right now. Actually, I'd imagine for it to make a lower low coming up. So now we get to number 2 here, the CRVS trade. So I want to go over this trade in full. I say that for a couple of reasons. I say that because we did really well on this trade all together as a team. I say that because actually we have a lot to get through coming up. Although I'm kind of speeding up going across the gainers and losers list. I want to dip into Bitcoin. There was some talk about Bitcoin in the YouTube stream earlier this morning when I was subbing in for Fausto. So I really want to dig further into that and just provide a bit further analysis on it heading into the weekend. I also say that for all of us live inside the trading room, I'm dipping out after this meeting. I actually have to prep up for a wedding I'm attending later on this evening. It's actually like hours out east, so very convenient, right? So I want to make sure that I have enough time to prep, and I still have to get a card, get money, all that stuff. So actually, after this meeting, I'm out here. So what we'll do is go over this trade in full. I want to bring a book map with that in mind, and we'll do a review A to Z on this stock. I mean, it was a really nice runner from pre-market. I don't think there was even news that came out on this stock in pre-market, right? But nonetheless, it ended up making for a nice move. So let's bring up level 4. Again, book map, otherwise officially known as. All right, so you're going to see a bunch of stuff here to begin. All right, so I'm going to kind of go from A to Z, beginning from pre-market. And I want to answer a question that one of our new trial members, Zacharias, had asked right before we started the meeting. I thought it was an excellent question. I said, hey, right place, right time here in the afternoon meeting. We'll go over it. So to begin, right? In pre-market, this stock ended up making a hell of a run. Pop from the 350 level that I'd called out, right? We were talking all about that in pre-market during the morning meeting, at least. Ended up breaking above resistance off of 372, which I marked as a level on my chart heading into the open. I ended up marking off $4, a whole number resistance. You know, you would always imagine right off a whole number or a 50-cent level, just like 350, for there to be a pretty big iceberg order on the order book once the market opens. And for the most part, that's what happens. But the pre-market high, it was right at $4.13, the exact pre-market high here. And I don't always mark a pre-market high. You know, I really don't. But given that it had topped off roughly around that high 2 times at the actual pre-market high here, and then before that little peak up to like maybe 410, 411, I thought that was fairly important to draw as a level on my chart heading into the market open. So when the market opened up, we had the opening bell print, a 212,000 share print at 378. You know, we always say this for a stock that is, you know, not to say this wasn't moving up. It popped, you know, in pre-market, but, you know, unfortunately after 9 a.m., it was pulling back, trending down a bit off the highs leading into the open. We're not expecting a pop right out the gate on this. We have time. If anything, maybe this is a complete bust and completely pulls back and there's no real opportunity on this trade, right? We don't know. But it's to say that at 9:30, we're not expecting a pop. Odds are, at least, if the stock does, you know, look to run a bit later on, given that it was trending down off the highs across the final 45, 30 minutes leading into the market open, we're expecting consolidation, maybe a point of a breakout a bit later on. So, you know, this thing was pretty chaotic even after, but it ended up making 2 breakouts above the opening bell print. I mean, you could say 372 here, but really once it cleared the 212,000 share print line, pardon me there, off of 378, ended up, you know, making a really nice pop at first, but really it was the second under and over. Once it broke under the opening print, then back over shortly afterwards, that's what made the real run. So from there, ended up topping off right around 440-ish, 442. You know, you normally don't expect a stock like this to make a second huge run up after it dumped all the way back down. I mean, it pulled all the way back down towards that opening bell price again, roughly between 378 and 372, that iceberg level from pre-market. But man, it ended up providing such a great opportunity later on. And even right now, as we speak, yes, all right, good. So for all of us on social media today, Facebook Live and YouTube, I mean, heading into a weekend, Friday afternoon, there's not as many people joining the social feeds, rightfully so. Enjoy your weekend. But, you know, otherwise, this is why I always say you need to join us live inside our trading room, just because it's not just the entries we're talking about from this meeting, but we were talking about this setup actually before the meeting even started, live inside the trading room. We were talking about it, myself, Chuck, Patrick, a few of us live inside Cyber Group. And we were saying if it could break under and over 450 again, that can create a really good trade, a really good opportunity. And thus, here we are now. So I'm in this trade as we speak. And I was going to say a word. I have a lot of shares on this stock right now. Let's just put it that way. Given yesterday's day, it was, you know, fortunately for me, I didn't say it this morning, but yesterday was really one of my best days ever. So I'm up a little bit today again. And for right now, I loaded up on this trade. I'm going to try and scale out as we go through this meeting, but otherwise I want to kind of zip through. Nonetheless, though, for the 415 price that Zacharias was asking, I was calling it out because 413 was the pre-market high. And then also the iceberg order, there was one at like 415 I marked early on. So that's why I called out 15. Nonetheless, I didn't get in from 15. Or 17 here where it dipped. I'm pretty pissed off about that. It dropped like 3 cents above where I wanted to get filled. But you know what? I'll take this right now. I'm actually going to scale out a quarter of my position. I can probably give you a good clue as to how many shares I have right now. All right, so at least I nabbed some money on this trade either way. I'm going to reset my stop on this otherwise, though. I'm definitely expecting this to make a move up to 5, if not even higher. I want to take a look on the daily chart. Otherwise, folks, give me a quick sec. I got to do a bit of this and a bit of that. Give me a quick sec here. There we go. All right, so this stock ended up clearing the historical resistance that I was referencing, 450. I mean, really, that's what I was saying, you know, really from pre-market here. A couple of points of inflection where it touches it, you know, maybe a couple of pennies under 450. Listen, a historical level is not going to be holding perfectly by the cent level. You can't expect perfection, but nonetheless, it was like 445 to 450 I was referencing. So with it making the strong clear above this price now, unless if it craps out here and stops me out, which would suck, I think that we could be in for a real treat here heading into the end of the day on this stock. So I'm going to try and zip through this meeting right now. CRVS, though, easily enough, I will put on the watch list for the afternoon. All right, cool. Chuck got 9 cents on a quick scalp. He was in from 67, so not from 50. Chased it a bit. He knew that. So in and out fast, rightfully so. Got a piece of the pie. That's all that matters. All right, let's go fast here. Damn, we got to go through Bitcoin also. I don't know how fast we're going to get through this meeting before we finish up. I got to manage this position that I'm in. I might scale out another 1,000 shares that I have. IPHA popped from earlier this morning, and once the market opened up, this was a fantastic trade. And this is what prompted me to actually, look to jump in on the CRVS immediately after the market opened up. Well, not immediately after the open, but shortly after this took off, given the similarity in the move that this had with the CRVS early in pre-market, it wasn't exact. This was not an exact correlation trade, but thankfully it paid off nonetheless. But this ended up making a sharper pop and run from 8. Got halted a couple of times, I think, on the way up. Didn't get halted on the way down, but from that point, though, once it topped off right around 12, 11.86, the high there, ended up dumping from that point. So yeah, at this stage right now, this is just going to break lower, much like the other one from yesterday, unfortunately. We were talking about, what was that, the IRNT? All right, so I see a bunch of warrants otherwise on the gainer side here. I'm just going to kind of skip past those. LGHL pulled back at least after the push up from this morning. Nice little move. All right, so let's jump to this one. This was one on the pre-market watch list, and if it wasn't on the pre-market, as I'm checking right now, okay, it wasn't. It was on the morning watch list. The stock Surf. Unfortunately, though, this was more of a bust after the market opened up. If anything, it was a much better short than it was a long. It was easy to borrow, but our focus was more on the IPHA, the CRVS. So I guess this dropped off pretty nicely. But look at where it's at right now. I mean, this is exactly where we would want to see a stock heading into this time of the day. So you know what? Hey, maybe the best is saved for last on this Surf stock here. All right, we'll keep it going here. Hoping that the CRVS honestly just rips up to 5 pretty soon, just so I can get out in full and then just kind of prep up for the wedding I got to get to. WKSP, not to be confused with Workhorse, WKHS, for anyone that suffers from trader's dyslexia like me. But stock ended up making a really nice push a bit later on into the morning after 10 a.m. Eastern, broke out from 725, 730, as you could see, and moved up really, really nicely. We'd called the stock out as it was breaking new highs, popped up on the Benzinga feed. A couple of our students like Norman had called it out, I think. Right now, though, it's just dropping. So for the meantime, we'll pass. Oh, actually, you know what? Really quick, how about this? I'm going to just make this a lot easier. I forgot to do this much earlier on. Let's make this like a fat number here, like 1 million. Do the same for the loser side coming up. All right, so the ATER, OPTT, also stocks that we ended up trading from this morning. Damn, this thing ended up dumping right back down, pulled back under and over from 11. So I'm sure a couple of us live inside the trading room, as I'm going through, you folks are probably already in right from 11. OPTT, Ocean Power, nice little bounce back up. It's a little slow, and actually, as I'm realizing right now, the stock is trading like really poor volume right now, about 3,500 shares per minute. That's not a lot at all for any stock, and let alone this stock. We've seen the stock make some giant moves in the past. I mean, I'm on a monthly chart here, mind you, but I was employed back in 14, so this was one of the first real runners I remember catching at the time. It was right around here early on, and then going back into 2016. So it's been a known runner. I mean, right now, though, it's just trading no volume here. Maybe next week, there will be a better move. The Smile Direct Club trade, still very tradable. I mean, just in terms of a side list stock, it's still up 11+%, making lower highs, kind of filling in here sideways a bit. Maybe it's prepping up for another move down, a breakdown here, perhaps to 650 again. It's easy to borrow. Maybe I'll come back to it at the end. If you did well on this stock heading into the market open today, heading into the late morning off another bounce here from 650, then I'm sure you're going to be more inclined to follow it. That's all. All right. GOED at 310 right now, up over 10%. Trading more volume per minute compared to the SDC trade. Or OPTT, I mean. I'm sorry. I don't know. We'll kind of just keep going here, folks. See if there's anything looking really good. You know, it's a Friday heading into the end of the week. We're mid-month right now. The FOMC meetings are next week anyway, so things are going to be pretty slow. I know it's quadruple riching Friday, right? I got to make mention of that for any of my options people out there. You know, normally I would be more excited about that, but we're coming off Labor Day weekend. We're going into a Fed meeting next week, so I hate to be pessimistic, but I don't know how much of a fast market up or down we'll have with all of these options expirations coming up. Oh, nice catch, Leda. Checking the trading room chat right now. I always got to go back and forth. So Leda got 18 cents on that trade. You know, it's funny. I didn't know who was in. No one says like kind of like when they're in, like upon getting in, because you want to focus on the damn trade, right? But I just knew. I guaranteed a couple of us, right? Maybe like a Patrick, maybe a Gene, maybe a Leda who got 18 cents on it right there. I'm talking about the ATER trade. Nice. Canon at the high of the day. That would be a good segue to talk about Bitcoin, as Canon's a Bitcoin mining related stock. You got FTFT up also, which is also, this one's not doing really much right now, I was going to say. So is also a Bitcoin related stock too, crypto mining. All right, I guess what we'll do is hop over to the losers list here in the meantime, see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better. I'm still in on like 3/4 of my position on the CRVS trade. Here's a move I'm kind of upset by that I didn't get filled on PTGX stock. For as much as this dropped off, we weren't able to short it on TradeStation, unfortunately, but we were hopeful for a dead cat bounce. And at this point here, it ended up breaking under 16. It shot me around on one trade, down like 8 cents on one position, but ended up moving back up, and I was more timid to jump back in. For as much down as it was, I was hoping for like $1, $2 move, and it ended up making that run back up without me. And, I guess for right now, it's still kind of up there, but pretty flat, though, here in the meantime. Let me do this here also. I'm sorry. Really quick. I had my stop set on the CRVS trade that just pulled back down pretty quick. I hope I didn't jinx myself there. Got $250 on it, but it would have been nice to get a lot more on that trade. At this point, though, still, I mean, might stay here for another 10 minutes before the or after this meeting. We'll see what happens. The OPAD stock, another missed opportunity. We were calling out a bounce right off of $12.58, the closing bell print back from Tuesday, I think it was. Ended up failing to hit it by like 3 cents. I was looking for an under and over and ended up making a pretty nice move back up at first. It's really flat right now, so I'm going to pass on the stock here for the afternoon. Yeah, damn, CRVS just took me out. Went -1 on the last 3 quarters, and I'll jump back in. All right, TMC not doing much, and really outside of that, and not to sound lazy here, for anyone that follows me here in the afternoons routinely, you know that there's a lot more opportunity on the gainers list most days than the losers. So not really seeing too many familiar names. The A and Y trade, it's not shortable anyway. I was hopeful for a break over 650 right here. I was alluding to a potential break over 650, how that could be a good setup. Unfortunately, ended up holding 650 perfectly and then dropped right back down. I'll tell you what, that's just about it on the loser side here, folks. I'll take a quick scan across the most active list here that I have. I'll bring up Bitcoin after I finish that up, at least. I don't know if that same person on YouTube that was there from the morning talking about they ended up taking a bit of a loss they had mentioned. Hopefully not off my call-outs, because I've been pretty on the money, at least across the last few months on Bitcoin. I made one mistake on Cardano maybe like 3-4 months ago, but otherwise we've been pretty pretty good. I don't see much in the trading room. I don't see much on YouTube here in the afternoon, which is fine. Friday afternoon, not a whole lot really right now out there otherwise. I'll take a look on Benzinga Pro here first, and then I'll jump to Bitcoin. Yeah, the surf stock's running. So you know what? We don't really need to really talk about too many others unless if there's really anything we drastically missed. But that surf trade is making a much better pop right now. A lot more buying coming into the trade off the pop from 7 or 705 seemingly. PLTR testing the high of the day. Yeah, but for a $29 stock, it's not making like nearly as volatile of a move as you would want to have. It would be a lot easier to make 10 cents on CRVS than it would be to make 10 cents on PLTR, in my opinion, right now. CRVS is like 4 times cheaper. All right, so folks, I'll jump to Bitcoin, and then at the horn, if there's anything else here at the end, let me know if there's anything else that I missed or popped or dropped or whatever. All right, so got Benzinga Pro up here first. Actually, I'll just move away from this though in the meantime. So Bitcoin, hey, for the person from the morning that had made mention that they lost a ton of money, I don't know where they got in. I don't know what happened. They were a first-time attendee from my perspective here doing this afternoon meeting. They weren't one of our regulars like Daniel F. or RJF or Mitch or Dan F. or Doug C. Whomever, it's all right. But it's to say this: my outlook on Bitcoin from the get-go has not changed. Extremely bullish. I'm expecting the top to be right around January, February time. Some folks are calling for a longer cycle to where it tops off maybe around April. I don't know how much I'd buy into that. History says December, January. So I think January, February might be pushing a bit myself. But nonetheless, where could we get a potential bounce coming up here on Bitcoin? Well, I called out the bounce last week, right around 44,000. It broke below 44,000, of course, but broke right back above, and made a really good bounce from there. But should it begin to dip back down one more time, if you're looking to add more to a position, I ended up drawing this line here preemptively heading into this meeting. So, I haven't shown this line yet. Let's see how right or wrong I am coming up here. And if it ends up popping right from these moving average lines, then God bless, I'll take that. But I'd still expect a little slippage here. Some might expect this to really hold as support, but it already has to begin. I mean, we're seeing lower highs. It wouldn't shock me heading into the weekend if we happen to see a bit of a slippage here. And should that be the case, I personally don't expect this to drop much lower than this line here, right around 45.5. Why is that line there? Well, that's where you might have to email me or join our live trading room. That's part of the secret sauce. But nonetheless, we'll see. If it ends up running right from this point, I'll be happy to be wrong from that perspective, right? Much better to be wrong should this run up before it touches this line than anything, because I'm not really in the accumulation stage at any point further. Cardano, not much to write home about. It's been kind of pulling back after the squeeze up to the moving averages here. Ended up holding pretty nicely as a resistance. Perhaps it will pull back down towards this line that I had set up right around 228. Is that, or is that 221? 221 right there. Just really strong top dating back to mid-August. So in a worst case scenario thing, I think that it will pull back down to there. Otherwise, perhaps we'll get a squeeze much sooner than later. I think the buy the rumor, sell the news thing took effect on the smart contracts at first, and I'd made mention of that last week with Cardano, just expecting perhaps the squeeze up across the next 2 to 3 weeks from right now. All right, but otherwise, that's all I got. That's pretty much all I got for us right now. I think someone wanted to go over Solana from yesterday. Not much to really go over on Solana, really. I mean, it's been moving up so parabolically that if it ends up pulling back, perhaps, this right now is the 100 EMA on the daily chart, and that's set right around $79, which makes sense with this little consolidation here, and then it popped and ran up much higher. So perhaps that could be a theoretical support level to watch. Should it drop off any lower, then I'd probably look for right around this top. But man, I don't really have much else on Solana because it's so strong that who knows, this might just keep popping up. Should Bitcoin get another run back up in crypto altogether in the next 2-3 weeks, like I was saying with Cardano, that pop and bounce back up might be sooner than later here on Solana. So we'll find out. I'm not really too familiar with it though otherwise. All right, folks, that just about does it from me here. At least I got some money on the CRVS trade at first, and I'm going to try and jump back in on that trade should it hold back over 450 coming up. But otherwise, I mean, really, we only have 3 stocks on our watch list heading into the close. That's perfectly fine. I normally put out a watch list of like 8, 10 stocks, and I don't normally like to do that if there's no need to. So heading into the end of the week, we got 3 stocks here so far. The market seems pretty flat, albeit is dropping earlier. But if we end up getting a bit further of a drop across the board, perhaps that could be a good opportunity to try and short the market. But outside of that, we'll try and stick to this list here first. All right. For all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube today, one last call, at least heading into the weekend. Well, first and foremost, enjoy your weekend wherever you may reside. Hopefully it's nice out where you live. Enjoy the weekend. But otherwise, last call heading into the weekend in regards to our Traders Talk workshop. I'll make mention of that once again coming up on Monday of next week. But as the banner says below, we're conducting a special Q&A edition of our Traders Talk workshop. We always host that live inside our trading room. It will be a simulcast coming up this upcoming Tuesday on the 21st. If you'd like to ask any questions on stocks or call-outs, anything that I made mention of here, crypto, you name it, anything. Feel more than free to send over a quick email right to my email address, josh@c2trading.com. For all of our students live inside the trading room, again, you folks don't need to go on YouTube. You'll just be right inside the trading room, business as usual there, and I'll begin on Tuesday. But you folks know better than anyone. Just you'll send me emails going into Tuesday morning, if anything. All right, folks. Aside from that, I mean, hey, enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend here coming up, and I'll catch back with everyone coming up on Monday. Take care.